This is the Voice for Real Estate podcast. Whether you're buying a home, building a home, or designing a home, you'll meet the local experts who can provide all the information you need in every episode of Voice for Real Estate. And be sure to subscribe, share, and comment so you don't miss a single episode of Voice for Real Estate.
And here we are with another episode of Voice for Real Estate. And I'm honored to have my friend and mortgage banker at Pawleys Island, Leigh Hope. Leigh, thanks for joining us. This is awesome.
Oh, Bill, thank you for having me.
You know, I like to get up close and personal with people. You are definitely a dog-friendly broker because Leigh and her daughter own Wolfgang, one in Pawleys Island and one in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. So that's kind of fun, isn't it, Leigh?
Oh, it's super fun. When I get tired of mortgages, I go over, play with the puppies.
Kind of like a stress releaser, right?
Major stress relief.
You opened up your office in the first office you opened up in mortgages, because I want to establish the depth of knowledge you have regarding this. The first mortgage company was in Charlotte in 1996, and that's still going, right, Leigh?
Yes, it's been great. I graduated from the University of Georgia in international business. And that was back in the 80s when all the banks were hiring and did big training programs. So I was hired in Charlotte and managed the Arboretum, which is huge real estate now. So I worked there 10 years, and just what I loved was the mortgages. And so when my second child was born, we literally flew to California, paid $10,000 to this company that helped me start the mortgage company.
That's awesome.
And it was great. It was the best thing I ever did. So that was in 96 and have never looked back. I've loved it. It's been a great career. So
through working at the Arboretum, you found your passion because you realized it was in mortgages.
I'm very passionate about families need a home. I feel like it just solidifies a family. And I love work, but I loved working with the people to help them get a home. So
mentioned families. It's because Leigh has 2 girls and 2 boys, and you're all about family because you're always on the road. And in previous conversation recently, we just talked about your visit to your mom and dad and how you took the 4 kids with you. So I could relate to that. That's what your passion is now. In the year 2000, what did you do?
We left Charlotte, where I had been living since 88, and moved to Pawleys Island, South Carolina. I moved here with 4 children. One, Lindsay was just born to Cameron, who was 7, had built a house in Debbie-Doo, which was going to be a second house, but we decided to try it out for 2 years. And we came to Pawleys and fell in love.
Did you start the branch in Pawleys Island right away, Leigh?
Yes. And was really, really fortunate that I had a great group of people in Charlotte that I'd worked at the bank with. And so that worked out perfect. And so we were here in 2000 and have never looked back. And so I've been here in Pawleys 21 years.
Tell our listeners about the market in Pawleys Island and Myrtle Beach. Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, it's crazy. And I love the fact that I have been here so long, so I know the market. It's never been like this. I've never seen the construction, even though the cost of construction's up. I heard today on the news that it's up over 400%. They were saying 300%, but they're saying an average cost of a house has gone up $35,000 over this time last year. But right now, there was no pandemic in the mortgage world or real estate world. I feel like last March, I'm working 7 days a week. I have never been this busy with the demand of people moving here. I've never experienced what I've experienced, that people are buying houses sight unseen. Our realtors are taking them on tours, and then they're buying the house, which I think is a little scary because I think we've all rented Airbnbs that the pictures don't look like what we thought they were. And
that's true.
Oh my gosh. But it's great. I think it's great for our area. down here in Pawleys, the traffic and everything started last April, and it didn't stop. And we're at full capacity. And if you want to move on the coast, you've really got to be ready and prepared. Our realtors here are requiring most people to get a pre-approval letter ahead of time because due to the pandemic, some of the real mortgage laws changed, especially if you're self-employed.
Give us an example of a couple of important changes since the pandemic in your industry of mortgages.
Credit is the king. Credit score. Your credit score, you want to keep your credit score above 700. And then if you're self-employed, it used to be that we could take 2 years. So we could take 18 and 19 and just use those 2 years. And a lot of people file extensions. But if you're self-employed, they are now asking for bank statements, current bank statements on your business. So today, if I was putting in a mortgage for myself, I would have to have all my bank statements for the mortgage company and the dog stores for 2021 and do P&Ls to show that we're still, even in the pandemic, we were doing as well as before. And that's new. So I feel bad when I'm doing a mortgage for self-employed people because we have to ask for a ton of stuff.
Yes, but your knowledge base will help them. You'll help them guide them through the process for sure. Give us some examples of homes that are sold there. Are the prices higher than they were? And I know you have a very strong real estate base. So how are you? What's different now servicing your real estate agents base of customers than before the pandemic? What do you have to do that's different now as a mortgage banker?
For instance, this never really happened before, but we have people who are coming from up north that they won't take contingencies to sell their house. And so I have a gentleman right now that he doesn't really want to sell his house up north. So he purchased a home, but with the full intentions of selling the house up north. So what we're doing, instead of normally people would put down 20%, he's just putting 5% down. So he's going to have PMI, which I do not like and I do not recommend. But within 30 days, as soon as he sells his house up north, we'll do what's called a recast feature. Like he's buying a house for $400,000. He's only putting 5% down, but as soon as his house sells up north, he's got over $200,000 that he's going to pay down on the new mortgage, and we'll do a recast feature, and it drops his PMI and gets his payment down to where it would have been if he had sold his house up north first.
Everyone's talking about real estate. The conversation continues with Voice for Real Estate podcast. Listen and learn from the experts who call the Carolinas home. Podcast advertising gives your business a voice of authority. Be heard. Advertise on this podcast. Visit voiceforrealestate.com.
I'm a little surprised that he was able to secure a house through all those hoops because property is going so fast right now. The seller, was this new construction, Leigh?
No, but the fact he didn't have a contingency to sell, they would not have accepted his offer if he had a contingency to sell another house.
So did you guide this process, or was it brought to you that way?
I helped him because he was in a panic. He literally was on the way to the airport and trying to figure out. This one was a very smart situation. His whole family's moving down here and his daughter's going to coastal Carolina. And he would have had to pay out-of-state tuition. But the fact that he's going to live here and the daughter's going to live with him, they immediately can pay in-state tuition. It saves them a lot of money. And for that, maybe 30, 60 days, he's going to have 2 mortgage payments. But he got the house he wanted at the price he wanted, and he's getting in-state tuition.
Is this in Pawleys Island?
Mm-hmm.
Is this in Pawleys Island?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
People move here to Pawleys to go to coastal. It's not that far.
You have a handle most people don't have because you know both markets. You know the Charlotte market and you know the Pawleys Island and Myrtle Beach market. What would you say the biggest difference of what's going on right now? What's the biggest difference between those two markets, Leigh?
No inventory in North Carolina. They are really struggling with inventory. I think we have more people selling here. I think because it's a second home market too. And you used to not see any of the homes on Pawleys Island, the $1 million beach homes. And I think those beach homes have been passed down to generations. And for the first time, people are like going, wow, look at what we could sell this for and what it's cost. And so we are getting some of the bigger homes put on the market here. And I think in Charlotte, it's more of a first home market. So it's their primary. And I have had some people my age, like all my children are gone. I'm in a 5-bedroom house. I don't need a 5-bedroom house, but I don't have anywhere to go. I mean, I kind of would love to sell, but everyone has said, do not put your house on the market unless you know where you're going. And like I love dogs. There's absolutely no rentals here. If you had a dog, if you wanted to sell your home and rent for a while, then build. That's an interesting, so most people, it's very hard to get a rental. So you have to have another house that you want to buy.
When somebody needs a mortgage, what should they look for in a mortgage banker? What you don't know anybody, and you're looking for a mortgage banker. And when they interview a mortgage banker, what kind of qualifications should they look for?
Well, in this day and time, the number one thing is accountability, and that you can touch that person, that they're not just somebody across, like realtors really get upset when their borrowers are using some of the online services, because I have watched it firsthand that you just don't have that relationship with the person. We're invested. I'm invested when I know my realtors, and then I get to know my customer, and I am invested to make that loan happen and close on time. And I feel like if you're dealing with somebody online, they don't know you, they if they're up in New York and they don't understand, like our condo markets down here, there's no skin off their back to turn you down the day before you were going to close. I don't feel like they are as invested.
Have you seen that with the online services? Like, do you think you're going to get a mortgage, and with 24 hours later, before the closing, they say, no, we're not going to do it?
Well, and I'm very grateful for some of the rules. Since I've been doing mortgages 25 years plus now. I love that they protect the borrowers now with the closing disclosures having to go out 3 days before you close. So that way there's no surprises anymore that day of closing. But I have definitely seen somebody 3-4 weeks into a mortgage, and they're like, oh, wait, I didn't realize that you were 1099 versus W-2. Oh, you need 2 years of that. I'm sorry, I can't do your loan. And they're, the customer's devastated. 3 weeks in, you're starting to pack your bags. You're thinking you're moving.
There's no question about it that you're a relationship kind of person. And the other thing is, and we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the podcast, but where does that passion come from? Is it really about helping families? Is that where that comes from? Where else does that come from? Is that the essence of why you do what you do?
Well, I love people, and I always say I don't have time to volunteer at church. So this is a lot of my volunteer work. It's like helping. I love to help single moms. I don't know. I just have a lot of passion about it. Mortgages are very complicated. And so right now I'm helping like a lot of my children's friends, and it's a big purchase. So I love to just help them walk through that process. And I get nervous sometimes when I hear people are using some of the online services. I just don't feel like they're going to get the care.
Here's somebody and I don't know what this answer is going to be. So you have somebody and then they're doing the online service or whatever, maybe not online, but 3 days before the closing, they find that they can't get the mortgage they thought they were going to. Have you ever gotten a mortgage for somebody in a week's period of time?
I can give them a definite approval in less than a week, because we're directly connected to Fannie Freddie. So we can get that approval. But now my experience of doing this 30 years, I know the pitfalls. I mean, I know, if they only have 18 months of self-employed, it's not going to work. I mean, we have a young gentleman right now that is getting a ton of overtime working for the SBA. But since he didn't have overtime in his previous job, we can't use it. And it's like, so a lot of times, and he's very educated, he's an attorney. And so he knew his debt to income, which I love. People are getting a lot more educated and they know what they can afford. But you've got to go, it's a lot in Fannie and Freddie and knowing their guidelines. I mean, overtime's fabulous, but if you've not had it and have a history of it for 2 years, you can't use it. So just experience, you pick up on, believe me, in the mortgage industry, when you've made one mistake and with a customer, you will never make that mistake again. I mean, you learn.
Can you give me an educated assessment of this market that we're in? And do you think it will end anytime soon? And I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what's your feeling about that?
The rate environment is just unbelievable. I mean, my first mortgage, and I think a lot of people could say this, in 1988, it was 11.5%. And then the national average of mortgage rates has always been around 5%. And the fact that we're still below 3%, I mean, you can get a 30-year fixed rate right now at 2.875, no points, no origination, 15-year at 2.5%. That's unprecedented. It's unbelievable, and it won't last. But they are saying that we should expect this for the rest of the year. And I think that, whoever can capture this right now, I think I think for young people, it's cheaper to buy a home than it is to rent. I think the prices to rent are going to go up. One thing I was going to say that we're seeing here at the beach is more investment sales than ever. People are really starting to pick up any investment property that they can rent, because it is going to be hard for some people to get a mortgage after this pandemic. And so rental properties are going to be great for people to pick up. But I don't think that this is going to last. I don't see it getting harder for people to get a mortgage. If you can have decent credit and a steady stream of income, then people will still be able to always purchase homes.
Let me ask you one final question, Leigh. And again, thanks for joining us. Really, we appreciate that. Tell everybody, before I ask this question, tell everybody the name of your company and your website address, please.
The name of my company is First Trust Mortgage, but the parent company is Fisher Mortgage. So it's FisherMortgageLLC.com. Or you can always Google Pawleys Island mortgages and we pop up.
If I want to move to the Carolina coast, and you can get a mortgage anywhere, you can do a mortgage for me anywhere along the Carolina coast. It doesn't have to be Pawleys Island, right?
Oh, right. I can do anywhere in South Carolina and North Carolina.
Okay. So, and I had never been down here, and I'm a prospective buyer. What would you suggest I do?
Even though maybe you're a savvy buyer and you've done tons of mortgages, I would still get pre-approved because situations can change, especially if you have multiple properties. So definitely get pre-approved. Our pre-approvals last for like 90 days, and get a great realtor, which we have a ton of excellent realtors. I think the younger generation, in my opinion, they've found that they like to go on Zillow and just look themselves. And I've just tried to educate everyone that realtors are worth their weight in gold. They really help you to find the correct house. They help you to navigate through. If you're going to go on Zillow and find a home, it's going to be gone by the time you reach the person. So
the National Association of Realtors did a survey, and the number one thing that people look for is integrity, obviously. But like just below that was knowledge of the area. And the people that are the realtors are in Pawleys Island and the Myrtle Beach area, they know that area. Many of those realtors have been there for a lifetime. And it's the knowledge of the area people are looking for. So they're not going to find that knowledge online somewhere. They're going to find it by talking to somebody.
And I have found that, and I love this, I feel like we all work together on the coast. And like, if you're dealing with Latchcott here and all of a sudden you change your mind and want to go down to Little River or go up, to Sullivan's Island, I have found our realtors will patch you into somebody that's in that little community too. that knows the market a little bit better than them. I do feel like they care and want to help you.
Well,
to know that
we're in the
market.
South, we're friendly down here, Hey, Leigh, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time with us. And if anybody's interested in a mortgage, they need to call you because you know what you're doing. So, but thanks, Leigh, very much, for being on Voice for Real Estate.
Thank you, Bill, for having me.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for watching Voice for Real Estate, where you meet local experts who provide timely information in every episode. Be sure to subscribe, share, and comment. Find Voice for Real Estate online at voiceforrealestate.com.